So now that we've explored some of the basic building blocks of melodies and some of the theory of harmony, I'd love to try and converge and combine those two worlds. And so much of the best part of music making comes when we combine the art of melody with the art of harmony. So our melody from earlier on, if I recall correctly, goes something like this. And so this melody appears to be in the key of F major. That's its local area. And so if we think about F major, we think about what are the closest chords to the chord of F major, which kind of affirm this as a space, a harmonic space. What are our neighbors? Well, our neighbors are B flat and C. On either side of F in the circle of fifths, those are our key collaborators. And so I would say that naturally you would start by trying to think, well, how many of those chords could fit essentially with that melody? So we got, which is actually kind of nice. It works like that. You've got chord 1, you can say F major, and you've got chord 5, which is C major. And we should also be probably visiting chord 4, B flat major at some point too. There's something also within the world of harmony called the relative minor. And the relative minor it belongs to every major chord. So if I take F major, for example, the relative minor of F major is D minor, because it's the closest minor chord to F major, if only one note is moving. And so every major chord has a relative minor. And so if we include those chords as well within our harmonic palette for this melody, we've got F major, B flat major, and C major. But we also have D minor, A minor, and G minor. And suddenly there's so many tools at our disposal. That's that. So what are the basic kind of benchmarks of our melody? What are the basic moments of change? Well, we start, in my mind, with this chord of F major. That feels like home. And then this second phrase feels like it's moving somewhere else. So we could perhaps go to G minor. And if you move the bass note of G minor to C, then you have what's called a C sus chord, and that's such a nice chord. An important thing to remember when it comes to chords is that every chord has a corresponding bass note, but there's so many bass notes that are possible. So I could play the chord of F major, but I could have B flat in the bass, or E flat in the bass, or A, or G, or C. And once I've realized that, then harmonizing a melody like this can become really fun, because you get to combine different kinds of melodies in the bass part with also the melody on the top part, and fill in that gap with the chords. So if I think about this as a two-part composition, right? And then say I go, right? Maybe we go to D. Yeah? That to me feels good. So let's start there. F major, G minor, C major, F major, D minor, G minor, to C. Feels like a logical arc, a responsible way of using chords and melody. And then the question becomes, well, in combining melody with harmony, often the best way of doing that is to incorporate what's called passing notes. And passing notes are notes that move within the chord that feel like they move with or against the melody to give some kind of conversation, some kind of context. So rather than just having chord, melody, let's think, what's this melody doing? Well, it's moving, see, down a third and then up in seconds, if we think back to our intervals. And so what if we had F major in the middle, but we took the bass part here, and that moved in parallel with the melody, like this. Do you see? I'm using the notes in the F major scale. And those are all good notes to find. And if you remember back to the circle of fifths, that means it's the notes from F, and the note from B flat, and the notes from C. All those notes, that's the F major scale. So if I take this melody, and I mirror these intervals in the F major scale, but starting down a compound third lower. That sounds, it's quite classical sounding, but it sounds really nice. I can keep going. So that's one approach, more of a sort of counter melody and parallel motion and inner parts. I can also think just purely harmonically about ways in which to move around F. So say, for example, I have this chord here, and I want to get to G minor in time for that chord. And what chord can I use as a stepping stone to get from one place to the other? There's loads of examples of this. So one example would be to go to D minor, because that D goes to G. Bass notes like to move in fifths, so, and then to G. That works pretty well. We could also do something slightly more outrageous. D7, it's like a D major chord with a dominant. Because that actually that's quite a satisfying resolution. And suddenly I can't help myself but adding a bit of spice. And some of the best opportunities for adding spice to chords is when you're on a dominant chord, which is a triad with a seventh. And there's so many different kinds of dominant chords, and I'd like to just quickly talk about that before we reincorporate that back to the melody thing. So if I want to get to F, and I'm a C7 chord, there are lots of extensions that I can add to this chord, and extensions are just basically upper notes that add colour, a bit like from the circle of fifths, but dominant chords kind of operate within their own rules. So this is C major, and I can say, for example, add an F sharp, and you think that's really spicy, but actually it's not that spicy, because that note just wants to rise to there, right? That note wants to sink, that note wants to rise, that note wants to rise as well. And so the thing with extensions or extra notes in chords, as they move, is making sure that they all have a destination to get to. So that's quite juicy, isn't it? And that chord, that's quite a hard chord to understand, you might say, but actually it's quite simple. It's C7, and I've also got another triad here, which is a tritone away, which is a nice interval. It's that interval. It's sometimes called the devil's interval. And that triad there works really well with C7. Isn't that funny? And just a quick fire round of other triads that work with C7. F sharp, A major is good. Yep. We've got, let's see, F sharp minor. That's kind of a spicy one. We have E flat minor. It's kind of austere. You've got B flat major. It's more gentle. Obviously C major works fine. F major can work fine if it's a sus chord. There's so many different ways of doing this. E flat major, E major, B major. There's tons. There's basically all the options are open. So when we return back to our melody, here we're on a D7 chord. Kind of add a ton of notes, whatever notes feel good to you. Once again, a miscellany of random notes. So we go to D. Well, how do we get from F to D minor? Well, one way of getting to D minor is to go to a chord called A7. So that might be quite nice. G major, E flat 7. And so for me, when I'm painting these pictures using harmony, using melody, it's so much fun to have a melody to work with and stretch it as far as you can. So in its very simplest form to its most complicated form. And the most complicated form of this is to harmonize every single individual note in the melody with a different chord, which is kind of wacko and really good fun. So that might sound something like this. There's just endless stuff to do. It sounds kind of weird. And those journeys, that's where the real storytelling happens with harmony. That's where it happens with chords. Say, for example, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I've played that tune so many times, and every time I play it, it comes out different. I would recommend sitting with a song like that one, or one of your own, and finding every possible combination of chords that goes with that melody, just to see what you like. Because ultimately, as with all these things, what really matters is what you respond to, what you like, and what feels right to you. With all of that in mind, let's move on to the next lesson, which is a very exciting one. And this lesson is exploring time and rhythm. See you there.